one. You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Today is March 7th, 2023. We're going to open the meeting tonight. And I'd like to start with standing in for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to do a little shuffling tonight. We're going to do a little reorganization of the board, but we're going to put that for the end of the meeting. Tonight, we're going to start with, because we're going to have one long meeting, one short one. We're going to start with the request for a variance by Christopher Santiago for a front offset from 30 feet to 12.8 at 335 Dudley Road. Christopher, would you like to, or someone that's,
I don't see Christopher here.
okay, I actually thought he was, I don't know who, so the meeting is tabled,
No, you can still,
but we'll just postpone it until, if they come in, we'll have it later after the next meeting.
okay.
All right, that's their problem, not ours. Okay, then we'll move on to the next one. And that's a request by Christopher, and I'm horrible on names, Alphen.
Yep, you got it.
ESQ on behalf of TNC Realty Trust and M&L Corporation of 195B Brooks Village Road or Brooks Road for a special permit, appeals and special permit, and for a change of substantial extension of use under zoning bylaws 300-10A and B for use of residential agricultural. Would you like to tell us what you'd like to do?
Yeah, for the record, my name is attorney Christopher Alphen, Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein. My office is in Concord, and with me is the applicant or the controller of the applicant, Mark. We are here for two reasons. One, we are here for an administrative appeal on remand, and we're also here for a special permit. Okay, so just a little procedure about how we got to the administrative appeal is this board probably recalls, I see town council is on the Zoom, so she can correct me if I'm wrong. But this all started with the building inspector coming in and determining that the use of the property to store commercial snowplows was an illegal use in the zoning district, which was the correct determination. But there was an appeal by Mark. Mark was unrepresented by counsel, and the board determined to uphold the building commissioner's decision. That was appealed to Superior Court. I had conversations with town council, and this board made a decision to remand it back to the board tonight. So we are here on that original administrative appeal of the building inspector's determination, but we're also here on the special permit. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, because it's just a little bit confusing, but I want to make everybody is understood there. So as far as the administrative appeal goes, we think that the building commissioner got that wrong because I don't think he did the analysis that the storing of the trucks is an extension or continuation of a pre-existing non-conforming use. There was a machine shop there. The building commissioner determined that that machine shop was a pre-existing non-conforming use, meaning a legal pre-existing non-conforming use.
Correct.
And so part of that use was very much commercial. There was a lot of trucks in that use. There was storing of trucks, accessory to the machine shop. And what Mark's doing today is just sort of the same use. He's storing trucks at that property. I provided a memorandum with some photographs of the property throughout the years, and you can see throughout the years that there's always been trucks stored at that property. What the applicant is proposing today is to store about 7 plow trucks. That's what appears to be the same use that the machine shop was using it for. So I submitted photographs in my memoranda, but I also we just got this today, otherwise I would submit it as part of my original application, have an affidavit from the previous operator of the machine shop, just giving some background of what that machine shop operation was like. We also have a member from the public who can testify about that previous use of the machine shop. But that previous use, I would argue, is the same type of use that is being used today on the property. So if I don't mind, is it okay to submit this as part of the public record?
Who was the contact of the previous owner that you talked to? Or this, that
Mark,
this is
who
from?
this? This is Alan.
Alan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the affidavit from Alan. I also put some photographs of the machine shop as it looks today. And some photographs of the storing of the trucks there today.
Those are the trucks that are your trucks.
Yeah, those are.
By
his
this
trucks.
picture. Okay, you got me.
So that's one part of the board's consideration,
Mhm.
whether this use is a continuation of what was there previous, and whether that is therefore a legal pre-existing non-conforming use. If the board decides that it isn't, and that there's been what's called a change of use, and council can second this, I'm sure. If the board determines that there's a change of use, that what was there previously is different than what's there today, under section 319B of your zoning bylaws, we can convert from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use if there's a finding by this board that that change in use is not more substantially detriment to the neighborhood. And so if the board doesn't feel comfortable in determining that this is a continuation of the pre-existing non-conforming use, then we're going to apply for a special permit under section 319B. And we don't think that this use is substantially more detrimental than the pre-existing non-conforming legal use, which was a machine shop. A
Yeah,
full
but
blown
he didn't run
indoor.
it 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
The difference here is he's running, which not necessarily the plows are gonna go out, but he's plowing for the state. We've gone through this last time. He's plowing for the state. Those trucks are running, and you gotta start them in the middle of the night if they get a call at 1 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night or whatever. They're running, and it's not within business hours, like say 7 in the morning to 6 at night.
That may be true, but the difference is the use that he is storing plow trucks that just go out when it snows. July, there's nothing else going on there. June, nothing's happening. August, nothing's happening. September's nothing. It's only when there's snow, these trucks move. So to say that we are substantially more detrimental when we only get used when there's a snowstorm compared to a full-blown machine shop that was there, I would argue is not substantially more detrimental.
Well, the machine shop only ran from, say, 7 to 4 or 5. I mean, that was a regular normal.
Every day,
And the
every
neighbors
day,
didn't have
yeah.
any problems with that
Yeah.
when I was there. But it's this other one, and I heard from a few people from the last meeting that few people have actually sold their houses and moved because of it.
Yeah.
And it's, and he has the machine, and his machine shop is still running, if I'm correct. So there's one business right there. So if you had another business, you're talking two. You're talking two business on the same piece of property, and one has nothing to do with the other.
I want to add that I think Mark has told me that previously, months ago when this all first started, there was a lot more activity going on at the property compared to what's happening now. He's able to add some screening and stop some of the stuff. I think there was some landscaping that was going on at the property. That is stopped. And so what we're asking, and this would be in a special permit decision or an administrative appeal decision, is you only get to do this one thing and make it very clear on the record to allow us to do that.
Yeah,
So
but
I think that there's some neighbors that may have been complained about things that happened in the past. We're not looking to do that stuff that happened in the past. We're looking to store trucks, plow trucks at that.
Yeah, but that way you're talking about screening, that's all done in the daytime. That's not done at nighttime.
Right.
Just so you know, and I'm sure everybody knows, we base our decisions on a lot of the input we get from the public. And I have to say that was a record amount of input at that meeting that I've seen. And it seemed to be all truthful. You want to take those people aside and make an agreement with them to forget about it, that's one thing, but we can't. This has been in this room already, as far as what's going on in the property, the complaints we listened to for quite a while. I think, what, hour and a half or something?
Yeah.
That meeting went forever. I just want that point out there that, in your opinion, it's all different and smoothed over now, but I don't think it could be. If I lived next door, I'd still be smoking.
Yeah, but this is two different businesses all on that same
Yeah.
property. The machine shop, and then you have the business for plowing, so you have two different businesses there.
Well, I think the machine shop is much more a smaller operation.
Yeah, but it's
than it
still
was.
two businesses, which is machine shop was there. Now you're putting another business in there with the trucks plowing.
Yeah, well, I think it's about and I think the case law would back me up on this. It's about the overall what happens at the property. And I think the analysis for this board is from what was grandfathered was the full-blown machine shop. And what we're asking for is there's no more full-blown machine shop going on, but we're adding trucks. And so I think the question for the board is snapshot in time, what was pre-existing non-conformingly allowed compared to what we're proposing today. And I think that's the analysis for the board. And I understand the comments about the neighbors and obviously any opportunity if the board thinks, and if abutters think that they would like to sit down with us and talk about things, we of course would be happy to do that.
Well, they're right behind you, so I'm sure a few of them will
Yeah.
tonight. You're talking about you want those trucks stored on that, where, the machine shop is, which is already a non-conforming lot, so we want to put another business on a non-conforming lot that you already have a business on. So,
Well, I think that the extent of the use is less. So the machine shop today, plus the trucks, is less than what was grandfathered, which was a full-blown machine shop that was there, working every day, all day.
but they had it, they were working, like I say, 7 to 5.
It was a
They
machine.
weren't working around the clock.
Right.
So. I
And
mean,
we're not
that's-
working
and
in
that
June.
was,
Yeah.
and that was, I believe, discussed, when they did have that machine shop there, that there was,
Yeah.
And even Al, and Al's father started that, and they, with the neighbors, he even told the neighbors themselves that they would not extend past 5 or 6 o'clock to disturb the neighbors.
Well, I think, I think that's analysis, right? It's a business that has employees that trucks were coming in and out of when it was a machine shop. compared to trucks that are not moving between the months of, so I think it's an interesting analysis you have to
The way
do.
you're talking, trucks didn't go in and out there when he had a machine shop. He might have got a truck in that brings supplies in he needed or something other than that. He didn't have trucks going in and out of there all the time.
Right, neither do we, right, yeah.
He didn't have a trucking outfit.
No,
There was 4 snowstorms so far this year, I think, 4 or 5, right?
That's
I've
not the
built
point.
13 times so far,
Well,
so. Tell me.
That's
What
not-
was there to what we're proposing?
No.
That's the analysis.
No.
And the analysis for the board, again, is whether it's substantially more detrimental. That's the finding that you have to make.
and you can also remember, he may not be taking his plows out to plow, but he may, just because it's not a big storm, doesn't mean he's not taking the trucks out to sand. To do the streets and sand the roads for the plow, for the state, with the state, so.
May I ask a question? What is the trucks used for? 100% of it? Is it 100% of it plowing and you don't use it for any other kind of movement at all? And you don't move the trucks from, say, what, April through November, more or less? They just sit there?
They may get rotated into the building to do some maintenance to them.
That's where you do your maintenance in the building? I didn't know from day one, I never really knew if it was something that you use for, a lot of people that plow also use their trucks for hauling gravel and other things, that's all. Just trying to get a full picture.
So you are using the machine shop as a machine shop and as a repair shop for the trucks.
The machine shop is really minimally used. It's not what it used to be.
But that's what it's set up for that use on that
You
property.
can,
though.
how many trucks can you fit in there at one time?
Well, it's not the point of,
No,
it's not the point of how many you can fit in there. It's the point of you repairing them there. That business is for a machine shop, not for a truck repair.
Well,
And the trucking business that he's got is under a different name, am I correct? I mean, it's not the same name as the machine shop. So my
Yeah.
point is,
it's two businesses.
it's two businesses jamming into one.
but again, it doesn't matter the amount of business. It's about the intensity of the use. That's the analysis.
Attorney Holmquist is also available to you.
I'm kind of blocked by her a little bit, but I can see.
Maybe you could help us.
What about using the
Property.
two uses for the one building? Is that legal?
So I think that that Attorney Alphen has actually given us a pretty good summary of the decisions that the board would have to make tonight. Two uses, I think, is not I think that the question again is whether the additional use would be, well, whether it's a change, whether that was a pre-existing non-conforming use, and then whether the additional use is substantially more detrimental than what had been going on before. And so I think the number of uses may be a consideration, sort of a factor in that analysis. So if there's now multiple uses, I think that's definitely something that you could consider as a factor. But I wouldn't say that it precludes any decision either way.
Okay.
May I ask a question to the lawyer?
Sure.
As a legal point, from a ZBA trying to make it the right decision and a legal decision, how are we supposed to know exactly how it was back then? You get them saying it's more, his opinion is the attorney, that opinion that probably never seen the place before, from what he's heard, that it was the same use or more use than it is now. I mean, how do we determine how much it was really used, how noisy it was, and how all the other parts to it, if it's worse or better or whatever. How are we supposed to judge that from a legal point of view as a ZBA?
Sure, that's a great question. It really is up to the ZBA to weigh the evidence that it has. So what the applicants have submitted in terms of those photos, any comments that it has, and knowledge of the site. I think that the actual weight to be given to any evidence is at the up to the board. So you need to decide how the evidence that you have would support a finding one way or the other.
Are you the author of the affidavit? I lived in 195 Brooks Road.
We're gonna open up to the public in a few minutes. We're just gonna let the lawyers.
Yep.
Do their thing, then we're gonna open it up to everybody who's gonna be able to speak, believe me.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, for the record, what we have for evidence, I think, are those photographs that I got from Google Earth, as well as that affidavit from the previous operator, who's not in the audience tonight.
All righty, any more questions from the board? Got something to say it out?
Not so much questions. I'm just, we're trying to make a decision here based on the information that we have, which I think is limited. But I think it is every time, well, not every time, but in a situation like this, it's limited information, not knowing what happened in the last 30 or 40 years. I've been down that road, if not 1,000 times.
Well, it's
thousands
just
of
been run
times.
as a business,
I
like
know
I
all
say,
that.
from seven,
I'm
yeah.
pretty familiar with it.
And the
My
neighbors.
father-in-law lives across the street for 30 years.
Okay, so
directly
he
across the
knows
street.
exactly what's going
I've
on.
been there a lot. And been down that street a real lot, and been there quite a bit. And actually, the times I've been there, and I spent a lot of hours right across the street as a machine shop. And when it was operating, when Al's father was alive and operating it. And I've seen big trucks come in and unload stuff, except they do heavy equipment, a lot of stuff like that, but real heavy stuff that you need heavy equipment to move, and that's what they used to fabricate.
Right.
And so you have big trucks there, quite a, never seen an exorbitant amount of trucks, though. I see a truck and then you might not see one for, a while longer. I don't know, maybe they come every day, but I'm not there every day, I just don't know how much it really got used. So I have some experience with it, probably more than a lot of you sitting here, because of that unique situation of having my father-in-law, mother-in-law living across the street. Nobody seemed to mind. It kind of was hidden a little bit in the trees a little bit, and that's all I have, but that's all I have for experience with it. And we're taking the opinion of what they're saying, and just trying to get it right is all I'm saying.
Oh, I agree with you.
I do have a little bit of insight on the use of the property years and years back. I used to work at a paper mill and delivered there all the time, picked up there all the time. In and out of there at least every week, if not a dozen times. I mean, it was a regular stop for the paper mill that was behind Lee's hot dog stand. I worked there for 15 years. It was a constant shuttle. This broke, that broke, back and forth. I don't remember ever pulling in that yard. Now, a problem parking. I always had plenty of room. There wasn't, trucks all over the place. I'd have to say, if you pulled in and now, you kind of think there's trucks all over the place. How many other your parkings?
Just
Your
7
actual-
trucks.
yours.
What, seven trucks
Okay, anybody?
and an
else
operating
parking there?
truck and an operator's truck. And the employees, I'm sure, park there.
Well, I mean, big trucks. We're talking. about big-
Seven trucks,
Okay.
7 big trucks.
Yeah.
Are they all his? I mean,
They're all yours?
Yeah. So if you had a limitation of 7 trucks, you'd be happy with that?
7 trucks and an operating truck with maybe rights.
I'm just
to add
saying 7
another
trucks.
truck.
If he's got 7 trucks, would he want a permit for 7 trucks to do this business there? Or does he expect to park until there's no plan?
Mhm, mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
7 or 50, big
Right.
difference.
There would be
You
a
would
big
change the
difference.
whole demographic of the town if you put 50 trucks in there.
Yeah,
mean,
and I don't disagree with you. And I
Yeah.
think that's, what we're proposing.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of limitation according to your bylaws. But I think what's being proposed now, which is 7 trucks and an operating truck. So say 8 trucks, I think certainly meets the criteria under the bylaws. But you're right, if it was 50 trucks, maybe it wouldn't, right?
So we don't know. That's what we're getting.
Well,
at.
the limitation
My
would
whole
be in the,
purpose of that little thing was,
but so your decision could condition, right? You could place conditions on the decision that says, it's limited to X amount of trucks or this parking area. So a decision can control that.
All right, any more questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would just add that we do have, and I know you're going to open up to public testimony, but we do have testimony from a family member of a former operator to sort of add to our evidence, I suppose.
All right,
Anybody want to start with her?
okay, and that would be,
Kelly.
say your name, please.
My name is Kelly Henshaw, but my maiden name is Ron is my dad. But
oh, okay, your elder sister, okay.
Alan's my brother, yeah, so I live on 95 Brooks Road. Brief history, the business existed from 79 until, basically until we sold it, because my brother kept it after my father passed. We did continue, the current employee was still Joe, he still had one employee, few employees. So I mean, the business was big, it varied in size, but it was, for a while, it was quite a few. That parking lot was full. There was probably like 8 or 9, maybe 10 employees at the peak of it. As far as what I can attest from the way it existed, I mean, Steel Fab was a customer of my father's, and they did a lot of business with my father, and they would, when the pieces were really big, my father didn't have the ability to get or deliver the steel. So those long trucks would deliver big pieces of steel for him. But he had big machines to work on, so he could do it, but there were big trucks that delivered. He had in his possession, he had 2 trucks. He had a diesel, and then he had another truck that he would do smaller deliveries, ones that he could handle. He had a fork truck. He had a trailer that a large trailer that he stored all his stock in. That's where he would keep it all. And then he had a bunch of stock on the side too. He had CNC machines they were pretty loud. He used to have the back shop. He'd have the door open, and he had big, I think they're CNC machines. I don't know. I didn't do the business, but I knew of it. I didn't work there. But those machines were pretty loud. But everything is true. He was 9 to 5. He did do middle of the night repairs, but that would be personally. He would go to.
It'd been an emergency
He
or
would go
something.
to the paper mill, but he didn't do it at the site. But he did things in the night.
All right.
Dad was a good guy, like Dylan.
Yeah, but it waned. It was big for a while though. It was a big business for a while.
All right. Yes, ma'am, state your name and.
My name is Janet Sandquist Skagerland. I live at 203 Brooks Road, right next to Mark. My husband and I have been there for 20 years. So we were there when Mr. Charlin ran his business. Mr. Charlin never bothered us. We never heard Mr. Charlin. We did not. We saw some of his employees' trucks out front, but we never saw anything. God is my witness. Mr. Charlin never bothered us. He was a slob, but he was quiet. And we never had an issue with Mr. Charlin. Then what was it? 4 years ago now? Mark moved in. And he proceeded to excavate, from what I understand without a permit, the whole property. Before, the machine shop was kind of, you couldn't see much of it because there was lots of trees around.
I remember that.
He took them all down. He excavated right up to our boundary fence. Now, the gentleman lawyer was speaking of, well, it's just 8 trucks and they only go out at certain times, and it's not a problem. Try living next to the clanking and the machinery and the engines running, not just in the winter, but all the time, and the diesel fumes. And I was not allowed to speak of this the last meeting, but the toxic plume that comes across my sheep field that I know he's gotten a violation for, but he is still doing it. We live next to this. And you say, well, we could put limitations on the 8 trucks. Has he followed anything thus far? Rules, regulations, the law? No, he's basically thumbed his nose at you, at me, at everybody. And basically, if you let him continue, you're saying to people like me and my husband that we can pretty much do anything we want, because he has, without any regard to his neighbors. And I've tried to be a good neighbor to Mark, and I went over there and prefaced it. I want to be your good neighbor, but you're kind of making me crazy. We're zoned for agricultural residential, and he is in violation, and I don't care what his lawyer says. Maybe they should come and maybe the lawyer should come and sleep in my bedroom where this is all going on. It's awful. Oh, and not to mention the road that has been destroyed.
Brooks Road.
Brooks Road.
I can't.
It's awful. It's awful. And that's all I have to say. I think what has gone on is terrible. That's all I have to say.
Can I comment?
Yes, you can.
My father heated that business with, it was a furnace that was outside. And he burned huge pieces of wood that he, and I resent that comment, by the way. I'm sorry, I don't want to start a war, but my father was a good man and he hardworking, and it was a great business, and he paid a lot of taxes.
He said he was a good man.
He was a
I
slob.
didn't say it was a bad man.
Anyways, he burned wood that would existed. That's how he heated that huge entire building in the back. So that's not any different. That existed and went with the business when it was sold.
She's not talking about the wood, though. She's talking about the diesel fumes, which is big difference.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was the.
No.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. State your name.
My name is David A. LaRoche, 177 Brooks Road. I've been there a little over 23 years. And say your dad was a good guy. He actually helped me out with the forklift one day. And I've never had a problem there. There was never industrial trucks coming and going.
And I don't think the
There
question
were
was with
industrial-
Al, because Al's business seemed to be really
Yeah.
good,
But what
and
this
you know,
says here-
nobody's complained about that.
But this paper here says that it was moving all the time. That's not true. Like you said, there were big trucks coming in at times with a lot of metal on it. Before I get going on about anything else, I was here last year. The board said to cease and desist. And to this day, that has not happened. I was also aware if you didn't cease and desist, there'd be a fine daily. And I'm not apprised that the fine would be issued daily, but I'd like to find that out. Could you enlighten us on that?
I believe, and Laurie, see if I'm right on this, where they appealed it and took it to court, that froze the fines
And
until everything's all said and done. And then after this is all resolved, if if it does, we find not in favor, and he does, after it's all said and done, the lawyer will tell you, then the fines will go in. And of course, if it does pass, you know, then nothing will come of it.
okay, so the fines we can go back.
Well, I don't know if, will they be back charged for the fines? Okay, I wasn't sure. on
Our
that.
attorney should answer that, right?
That's usually a town-to-town determination. It would be quite
Well, I guess-
unusual.
I'm speaking now. I would like to find out that from your attorney, if that is the case. Basically, the board came to a conclusion last year. They appealed it and they have the right to appeal, and I understand that.
Well, we have town council right here. She can answer that for you.
Well, Before that happens, I'd just like to continue and then she can speak. Like I said, I've been there for 23 years. I had a really good neighbor that was next to me, which was next to the snowplow situation. He got up and left, he sold. I mean, that wasn't 100% why he sold, but that was part of it. Because he just couldn't stand it. He had a family there, couldn't stand the noise. I'm 2 doors down, and for 2 summers, the industrial metal clanging. I said the first year to my wife, hey, they just moved in. We're not gonna complain. We've got an in-ground pool and out there, and it got to be that we didn't want to do that. Second year, during the clanging, I said, we're gonna do something. I'll call the Board of Health, called Lori, and made a complaint. She went over, I believe, and observed what was going on, whatever was going on. I still don't know what was going on, but it was metal against metal, and it didn't stop. It started at 7 and it wouldn't stop till after 2.
Good, let me ask you this, just to clarify, was that clanging from the shop itself, or was that from machinery?
Oh,
That, I just want to make
it was machinery.
okay, so it wasn't from the
Oh, no, I
machine
never
shop.
heard- In 23
Okay.
years there.
I just
before
want
He
to,
got there, I never heard a sound.
All right.
Mr. Charlin never bothered us.
So anyway, as soon as Lori went over there, it stopped. It was like a miracle. Oh my God, we can sit out by the pool now. And I'm saying, if you give these guys carte blanche, what's to say he's not gonna do that? As far as the noise, middle of the night when the diesels are running and they're running, he's gotta start them up. I mean, he's gotta get them going.
get a warm up.
And you gotta warm them up.
Yeah, only
And,
logical.
That's all I got to say. There's been 20 new houses within a mile from where I live been built. They're all valued at $500,000. They didn't build the houses with expectation that it would be an industrial zone. Thanks for.
And you want to ask town council a question, you said?
Oh, my question is, if I understand that the daily fee or fines have been abated until we find out whether their appeal is accepted or not. And if it's not, will the fines go back to the day when they were instituted?
So that's a good question, and I think I would second pretty much exactly what the chair said. During the appeal that put a that we weren't able to issue fines while during the pendency of the appeal of that original decision. And until now, because we had this agreement to remand the case back to be heard today. And so we most likely cannot issue fines for what has already happened, at least during the appeal and through today. Now, if the decision today does not allow the activity to continue, then we could certainly begin issuing fines for continuing violations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but and I believe the attorney said if we did deny it, you were going to put in another motion for another appeal. Or
well,
another
is it-
application.
Well, we're on a remand here, so that it gets a little bit complicated. So if there's actually a remand, the appeal is still pending and it has not gone away. We have not dismissed that appeal. This is on remand. If we were to get a denial, then we would notify the court that nothing has changed and potentially file another appeal and consolidate the cases. So to
So in
answer
other
your-
words, you're just going to keep.
yeah. I don't want to, I never like to say in a board hearing that I'm going to automatically appeal decision. I need to read the decision first. So I don't want to take that as some sort of threat or anything like that.
I got a question. How many times can they appeal this?
Well, so we haven't actually gotten a decision on the first appeal. And so we would have to.
What my question, if we deny that, how many, he's appealed it now, how many times can they appeal this case?
So again, the original appeal is still technically pending with the court. We have a remand. And so there's still a matter pending. The court has not issued any decision other than to approve this remand. So it wouldn't be a second appeal necessarily, although the special permit, if that were a separate decision, would be a new kind of part of that appeal if they were consolidated, or a new appeal. But if we were to get a final court action, I mean, the appeals would be to a higher court and not back to the board in perpetuity like this.
So to answer this gentleman's over here's question was, if they did bring it back to the courts, that's still, there would be no fines levied until it's all said and done.
That is correct. I would have to look and see if there would be any way to do that during the pendency of the appeal, but where I sit right now, I don't believe that we can do that.
And if it's strung out for a year or two and say they did lose in court, would he would be liable for all the back fees that he'd owe? Or would he have to give it, he would be given time to get his trucks out of there?
I believe the fees would start once you have the final court decision on the appeal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, given the testimony from the abutters, there's two ideas that I have. One is that I'm going to encourage my client to talk to the abutters who are concerned. And number two, I don't know if this board would like to maybe potentially do a site visit to take a look at the property, potentially along with the neighbors, and maybe talk about potential conditions of a decision, and the board can take in evidence of what is existing at that site today. I think that might be helpful.
If we do this, I understand where you're coming from. You want everybody to get a 360-degree view of what's going on.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get that view. Not what these people are complaining about. Is it 2 a.m. when 7 trucks are sitting there idling for an hour and then all leave at once? We're not going to see that in that meeting you're proposing. There's no site reason to go there if that's what we're looking at. I mean,
all right.
And another thing is, and you know, I don't know this gentleman from Adam, and I'm sure what he's paying you for, I don't see why that maybe he couldn't rent a piece of land where he can put his trucks and he would not have a problem with this.
Well, that's not what's before the board, and that's
Right,
not part of
I
the
understand, we
consideration.
understand that.
But I mean, that's an option. You had some options. I'm laying out an option. I mean, I'm not telling him what to do, but for sure, but I mean, you know, like I say, they do have a very good case, and you know, I don't know how the board members wanna deal with it, but I think we've heard enough.
I think we should vote.
I think we should take a vote.
Wait a minute, she's got a question.
I just want the board to understand. When we speak, it sounds so very reasonable. And everybody's been reasonable. I just want you gentlemen to understand, and this is no exaggeration, how incredibly awful and stressful it has been living next to this. This isn't just, and this hasn't just been the vehicles or the going out at night or the 18-wheelers backing up at night. This has been during the day. You can't even sit out in your own yard without the diesel fumes and the clanking and the machinery going. We're not living next to a DPW. We're zoned for residential agricultural, and there's never been an issue before until this gentleman moved in and decided to break all the rules. And you need to hear that.
Mr. Chairman, if I would, my last argument here, if you're, again, we would request that we continue this hearing, have an opportunity to talk to the neighbors. If you're not willing to do that, my last point to you would be that this is a pre-existing non-conforming use. It's legal. It was legal the day that it became non-conforming. What we're asking to do is change from that use to another use. I don't think that you, under the criteria, under the law and what case law has said, I do not think you can find a finding that that non-conforming use is more substantially detrimental than what we're proposing.
I will not speak to this gentleman.
No, I don't think that'll do any good.
Okay.
All righty, with that said, do we want to take a vote?
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would just suggest making sure to separate out the two issues that are before you,
okay,
when you do vote.
and that would be,
So the decision on the administrative appeal, which is whether the use is pre-existing, and then the decision on the special permit application, which is whether that use is significantly more detrimental than the pre-existing use.
we can't just vote on both of them at the same time?
I think that it would,
I mean, well, I won't say how, I don't know what the outcome will be, but, so how would you say we lay this,
because I think that the vote on the special permit is dependent on how you decide whether the use is pre-existing.
so we're gonna, so go for the special permit vote first.
I would know the other way around, because if you vote that it is a pre-existing use, then and Mr. Alphen can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you would need to reach the special permit because you would have voted that it was a pre-existing use.
I agree, and I think the best form for the board is to go administrative appeal first, then special permit. Yeah.
But if you do determine that the use was not pre-existing,
Yeah, that, yeah, if they granted it, then we would withdraw our special permit, but, right.
All right, then.
Is it still, you still have two businesses there, which is in itself something that has to be approved? Correct? I mean, because it's supposed to be one business in a place, so now you have two businesses, so there's gotta be, even if we agreed to it and saying it was already existed before, it was being the same use. You still have two businesses being run there with the machine shop and the other one, that would require in itself a special permit. Or
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be up to the board to make a decision. I think that's why I think the board should consider this decision carefully. Because that's exactly right. What the board is issuing is, what we're seeking is a special permit for what is happening today under section 319B. And so I think the board should carefully consider that before making a vote here.
Alrighty.
You may want to ask town council your feeling of how
There's two businesses there.
Yeah, we could, how does town council feel about this?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question from Lori.
I wanted to know what your thoughts are on a continuance. It would give the board an opportunity to speak to you in process wise.
If that would be helpful to the board, that's certainly something that you could consider.
I wouldn't, why do
I don't
we
really think we
why do we
need
want to
to.
continue?
well, that's the other point, the other.
I really
point
don't
is-
think we need to.
I don't think
We've
we
heard
should continue it.
everything pretty much the same as before.
Yeah, I don't think we should even in continuance.
Yeah,
One positive to the board is, we've submitted evidence about, I believe, evidence about what the prior use was. After tonight, I would like the opportunity to potentially supplement that information. I would note that those who are speaking in opposition have provided testimony, but otherwise have not provided any documentation to supplement their position. And I'd like the opportunity to potentially supplement this determination, because I don't think this is so black and white, and it is a fact-intensive decision for the board, and I would like the opportunity to supplement the record.
Mike's quick one.
I'll supplement it. I've been there 23 years and I've walked by there, driven by there 100,000 times. And there's been some heavy equipment trucks there, maybe once a month. And unloading. And what he's alluding to is fabrication. Well, it is a fabrication business, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And that's what it should be. That's what it's always been. That's what it's zoned for. It is not an industrial site. Thank you.
We live there. We live there. I've lived there for 20 years. We live there. And this is baloney. I'm sorry. But this is my home. This has been my home for 20 years. And now it's awful. It's awful living where I live.
I would also make one other statement. I don't believe this gentleman lives there. Was he?
Which gentleman?
The one that has the property.
No, I don't believe he lives, you don't live on the property. I didn't believe he did.
Yeah, he doesn't have to deal with it.
But
Doesn't
see,
have a family there.
but see, actually, this is two businesses now. Not just one, it's two.
Well, I don't know, do you want to make a motion?
I suppose.
All right,
I'll make a motion to vote on your original appeal, whether it is in line with a conforming,
Conforming
non-conforming
use.
use lot.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Did I read that out right? The lawyer, yeah?
So yes, so
good?
whether the plow storage is a pre-existing non-conforming use.
All right, with that said, Alan,
No.
okay. Dennis?
No,
No.
No, and I'm gonna vote no. So with that being said, Laurie, I'm sure you've heard that before the spiel.
I'm sorry, what?
Now that we voted and voted no, they can,
Well, I will work. I have to do the write-up and everything.
Yeah.
right, but they can appeal it.
It's.
Well, it's an open case, so yeah, so then.
It's still
then
been-
that's
That
a-
appeal is pending.
All right, I didn't know if she still had to go through the. All right, with that being said, we can conclude this case.
You also,
we gotta vote on
having
it.
found that it was not a pre-existing non-conforming use, Mr. Chair, the special permit application.
I
asks
thought that was, we didn't have
No,
to
that
vote
was-
on if it
no.
was vote.
if it
okay.
was a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Now we gotta vote with the.
Because
All
then
right.
it would have been allowed.
Okay.
The special permit application asks whether it's a change that is not substantially more detrimental than the use that already exists.
All right. All right, we'll make a
Want
motion
me to?
then.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
on the special permit there.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We take a vote on the special permit application for the change in use.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right. All right, then, with that said, Alan?
No.
Dennis?
No.
No.
And I vote no.
Thank you.
All right. That being said, I know I believe we can close this meeting. So we will close the meeting. It is 7:25. And this meeting is closed.
Make a motion, we close the.
No,
I'll second it, I'm sorry.
for,
You closing the meeting?
no, not yet. We have a few more things to talk about.
We got another one.
Obviously, the people Christopher did not come.
I didn't see them. The hearing. Oh,
All right, I need a motion to close the hearing, the meeting.
Vote a motion to close the hearing.
I have a second.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in
I
favor?
will tell Bill you said
Aye.
hello.
All right,
Yeah. Good to see you
all
too.
right. That being said, and Christopher, we had another meeting, but he never showed up. That was the guy
Right.
on Dudley Road, putting up a garage.
Right.
He just, I actually thought that gentleman was him.
Oh, you did.
That's when I opened the meeting and
Oh.
Laurie got a kick out of it, but
I'm sorry.
No. No, I just said, I thought that gentleman, when he come in, I thought he was, Mr. Santiago. Coming for the garage. All right,
We got that on tape.
Yeah.
Santiago is not here, but you can.
make a continuance.
If you want to continue it, or you can actually make a decision. If
You can vote on it.
He's been here already, so
I don't know why he's not here.
maybe he's sick or something.
It could be. It could
Could have
be.
COVID.
So if you,
Has everybody
Yeah, he's
seen
been here,
that,
remember?
that slab he's got out there on Dudley Road?
I haven't seen it.
I have seen it. I don't know if you
I
have,
didn't
Dave.
go, no.
Maybe we'd be best stopped to,
to continue it.
right,
And I don't know if I missed you opening it or not.
No, we didn't.
Okay. So if you want to open the hearing, you can talk about it and then you can continue it.
actually, I did open that meeting to
Okay.
begin, because I thought he was Mr.
Yes.
Santiago.
Okay.
So,
No motion was made.
huh?
No motion was made.
Oh, no motion was made?
Oh,
Then I'll make, okay, then we'll hear the case of Christopher Santiago at 335 Dudley Road. Needs a front offset from 30 feet to 12 feet, 0.8. Do I have a second to open the meeting?
a second.
All right, meeting open. They are not here tonight, so
Did we have to vote to open the meeting?
I would say we should
Maybe, well, we could.
reschedule for the next meeting.
Yeah, probably should.
Supposed to open and vote to open the meeting first.
No, I don't have that now.
Oh,
No,
oh, okay.
so, did anybody want to vote tonight, or would you rather continue it to the next, meeting?
I personally would be okay to vote on
We've
it.
got what we need.
Yeah, we got it right here.
We talked.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, then, do I have a motion to vote on the garage? We would need a 28-foot variance.
That's a lot.
And if you've, I don't know if anybody's looked in the,
I got the map here.
yeah, the map, he's got
18 foot
his septic system is cut right through. He's sitting right on top of it.
9.5 feet away, the requirement is 10.
So,
He's,
Isn't that a Board of Health issue? 9
yes,
foot, yeah,
it is.
nothing to do with us. It's,
That part doesn't, no, but the 12.8.
yeah.
From 30.
yeah,
is-
that's
Yeah.
what we're here for.
well, I wish he didn't put a slab already.
So if you, Mr. Hanks's letter is in the packet, if you wanna,
Yeah, let me see.
Right.
All right. I don't know if he's got. As you can see, I don't know if you guys have this in here, you can see where,
Yeah.
where the slab is. He
Yeah.
has.
Yep.
But he's got septic all around him. Even
Yeah.
if he was to go up between the house, he
Yeah.
still couldn't do that because he has all pipes, so.
That's awful close, so 12.8 feet.
He's far enough, he's off the road.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not an eyesight. I don't think it wouldn't be a deterrent as far as, the looks for the,
How much
Maybe
property
wait
does
for
the
that.
town, how far back is the town on?
the actual survey that's in there,
there you go, right here.
yeah, it actually shows. He
Oh.
had the survey done at the request of the building commissioner.
But it doesn't show how much the town owns.
The front,
The frontage is where he put the slab.
right here.
Oh, here's a front. Oh,
Yeah.
Frontage is like this line right
oh,
here,
yeah,
Dennis.
okay, I
That's
see.
where the 30 feet
Okay,
is.
okay, okay.
So some of that slab is inside of the 30 feet.
Oh, yeah,
Very little, but
yeah.
it is, some of it's in there, so.
He's about 30 feet off the actual road, not off the property.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All right, with that being said, we have a motion to vote. You're up, Dave.
You're looking at me a lot today.
Well, no neighbors came in and complained.
No.
I have the abutters.
I see all the names
I
there.
mean, to me, like what happened in that last meeting, the neighbors are a big part of my decision making.
Can't not hear him.
Mailing, so.
Okay,
It doesn't seem, even though it's quite a bit, doesn't seem to be a eyesore or anything. That's how I feel about it. It's giving them quite a bit of slack on this, but you know, doing it before you have a
Rare having
permit.
that extra in front.
Not to mention putting a foundation before you have a permit, but.
right then.
And I think that was Mr. Hanks's. In his letter, he was quite clear. I mean, the hardship that Mr. Santiago put in his application is the cost of the materials and placing the slab.
Oh, yeah, the material for that slab.
I'll make a motion, we vote on the Santiago variance. To allow shorter setback in the front.
From 30 feet to 12.8.
I'd give him 12. That gives
What?
him 8 inches to play.
Yeah,
Oh, no, he needs 28 feet.
That's right too. It's.
He needs 28 feet.
It's 30 feet off the boundary, right? So he needs
He needs
18.
28 feet.
He needs 28.
He has 12, well, this is 12,
see, it's supposed to be 30
It's-
feet.
it's almost 13 feet off the road.
Right.
He needs another 17 feet to
Right.
get to, so we're gonna say 18
Yeah.
feet.
Right.
It's a reduction from 30.
To 12.8.
Mhm.
Right. Do I have a second on
I
that?
will reword it to
Okay,
include those dimensions then, 12 feet, 8 inches. Variance. To
No.
include the
18 feet.
eight,
variance.
I'm sorry,
18 inches,
18
18 feet.
18-foot variance.
Mr. Smart made a motion to vote on the variance to allow Mr. Santiago from a 30-foot to 12.8. I
Correct.
have a second.
Second,
Was I?
Roll call.
Roll call. Alan,
yes.
David,
yes.
Yes,
and I vote yes.
At 7:32.
I got away good.
And I make a motion to close this, well,
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
just the,
Just the hearing.
just not the hearing.
Yes. You're closing this individual hearing.
Right, the individual here,
Yeah.
but not the hearing itself.
He's on it, he knows.
I was nervous sweating.
Do
Hearing.
I have a second for that? Close this hearing?
Second,
All right,
Was that a minutes to vote on?
we're coming up to that. Why, we have minutes coming up?
You should have them in your packet.
Okay, we do have them.
oh, yeah. Where are they?
If you need them, I have extra copies.
Got them here somewhere, they got too many papers.
All those in favor of closing that hearing
Aye.
Aye.
passes at 7:33.
How about doing the minutes?
I don't know if I have the minutes.
Yeah, they really need to see.
Santiago.
What's next? Organization of the board or
They're doing the,
they're doing the
What the hell am I doing in a minute?
Trying to get down to find these things. Where are we, Laurie?
I'm sorry, I got them here somewhere. Oh,
All right.
you
got it? Okay.
You gave us too many papers, Laurie.
Yeah. Don't I know it?
All right. I make a motion to accept the minutes for the variance hearings for 522 Barry Road for the front setback 30 feet to 10 feet, which was granted.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
right. And that's passed. All right, and we have one more thing on the agenda.
So since John resigned from the board, I don't think that we ever properly reorganized your board. And at some point in time, you need to talk about chair, vice chair, clerk situation. And we need to get that.
Well, the clerk wasn't that Rick? I thought we voted, I thought we voted Rick as,
I did it one time. I don't know
Yeah.
if he wants to, it don't matter to me. I'll do it.
I think
You don't
Joe,
want
we
to.
should vote Joe for the chairman.
well, I didn't know, Dave, if you wanted to take the chairman spot, and I would slide back to the vice chair.
You would.
I'll still be right next to you. though.
Yeah.
This will be a best friend.
You're a lot younger than I
You
am.
can leave it as being a mentor for a while.
What? I didn't hear what you
Hang
said.
in there and be my mentor.
Oh, I'm not
for a
going
while.
anyplace. I'm not going anyplace. Yeah, I can do that. That's not,
All right.
I'll muddle through it with you.
Yeah,
If that's,
right.
To make a motion.
Alan, did you have interest in?
No, I'm good. I think I'm better off as a follower than.
Yeah. All right.
All right, then I would
I'll
make a
roll back.
motion to
David,
have David as chairman, chair of the board. And I will go back to vice chair.
yeah,
Lucky you.
All right.
okay.
And clerk as,
Rick,
Rick was the clerk, so we'll leave Rick as the clerk.
you're gonna vote on all three of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Well, you need a second.
I'll second it.
You got a second.
all right. All in favor, Alan?
Hi.
Hi.
And I. All right, that being said,
They're really getting done tonight.
wow. And you're still not getting paid.
You can pay the same amount.
All right, with that said, I believe we can close this meeting. The public meeting. I would make a motion to adjourn the public meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Hi.